Welcome to Sara Gonzales Unfiltered. Got a lot going on. Gonna digest it and analyze it with first buddy Matt Marsden, Blaze TV contributor, and of course, actor and producer extraordinaire and YouTuber. So make sure that you follow him. Subscribe on YouTube, Matthew D. Marsden. I always think twice whenever I say it the American way because I think of how different.
How'd you say it was me?
Matthew D. Marsden.
Do you know people write that now? Marsden, because of you. It's Matthew D. Marsden.
I can't stand it when it sounds so weird when you try to talk American. Don't do it. Stop it. You're scaring me. So yesterday, Trump, we've got all of this Iran, Israel stuff. Are we going to World War III? And President Trump, we were reading, exited the G7 summit early. And everyone started asking questions. So you got to wonder, okay, what's happening? Are we going to war with Iran? Are we striking at Iran's Ayatollah? Is it something else? And so far, I feel like as we're walking through this, I always have to say, as of the time of this taping, because I don't know what's going to happen in the next hour and a half before you see this. So is it something else? Because it seems like President Trump is hinting at like a decapitation of Iran's leadership. So I want to kind of break down what has happened in the past 24 hours. So yesterday, as he was leaving or after he had left, he gave a statement. President Trump did. He gave this statement about leaving the G7 early. Watch.
Any statement on why you're leaving the G7 early for Washington?
Well, I have to be back. Very important. I want to just thank our great host. Fantastic job. Thank you in Canada. But you probably see what I see. And I have to be back as soon as I can.
Now, the lady of the hour, Macron, was very butthurt. And he decided to tie Trump's exit to Iran negotiations. Watch. So he says, firstly, the president said a few minutes ago that discussions were underway, which is a good thing. And so if the United States of America can secure a ceasefire, that's a very good thing. And France will support it. And we hope that they do. I am glad that he said this because President Trump had a really great response on Truth Social. He said, publicity-seeking President Emmanuel Macron of France mistakenly said that I left the G7 summit in Canada to go back to D.C. to work on a ceasefire between Israel and Iran. Wrong. Can you just say wrong?
Wrong. He's a loser. He's French. If you look up loser in the dictionary, you'll see a picture of a Frenchman.
We don't know what's going on with Brigitte. Could be a man. Back to his Truth Social post. He had no idea why I am now on my way to Washington, but it certainly has nothing to do with the ceasefire. Much bigger than that. Whether purposely or not, Emmanuel always gets it wrong. Stay tuned. So yesterday we talked about Trump calling for a ceasefire, and he kind of appeared to indicate peace talks that were already in motion with this other post on Truth Social. He said, we will have peace soon between Israel and Iran. Many calls and meetings now taking place. But then as of this morning, he posted this on Truth. I have not reached out to Iran for peace talks in any way, shape, or form. This is just more highly fabricated fake news. If they want to talk, they know how to reach me. They should have taken the deal that was on the table, would have saved a lot of lives. So I want to get further into this. Before I do, I want to remind you guys to make sure you are subscribed on YouTube, Sara Gonzales Unfiltered. Smash the like button, or you can gently tap it. We all appreciate a gentle tapping from time to time. And make sure to comment. It'll help us in the algorithm, which we all know is stacked against us as conservatives. So let's go over potential evidence what is the evidence that we have and what can we make of it? So he's encouraging safety precautions in Iran, right? He said, Iran should have signed the deal. I told them to sign. What a shame. What a waste of human life. Simply stated, Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. I said it over and over again. Everyone should immediately evacuate Tehran. Everyone started panicking. Oh my God, they're about to bomb the shit out of him. Why else would he be calling for evacuation? But he did follow up and gave a little bit of clarification that potentially he's gearing up for a drone strike rather than some sort of a U.S. ground war invasion, which is not what you want, right? So he said, we now have complete and total control of the skies over Iran. Iran had good sky trackers and other defensive equipment and plenty of it, but it doesn't compare to American-made, conceived, and manufactured stuff. Nobody does it better than the good old USA. You got to love a salesman who knows always be closing. You got to know the ABCs, always be closing, never waste an opportunity to remind everyone that things that are manufactured and made in America are always better. So do you remember when President Trump killed the IRGC commander, Soleimani?
I do, because I have a friend of mine who'd been tracking him for many, many years.
Died like a dog.
Died like a dog. Yeah, I mean, it's the greatest speech in history.
So good. So good. Well, he appeared to make a thinly veiled threat, I would say, against Iran's current leader, Khamenei. He said, we know exactly where the so-called, I love that, the so-called supreme leader is hiding. He is an easy target, but is safe there. We are not going to take him out. At least, well, he says kill in parentheses. We're not
just to make sure, you know, it's like, we're not going to take him out like for a night on the
like
town.
a date.
Or we're not going to take him out, you know, to Macero for some tacos.
Just so we're clear, we're not going to take him out, meaning kill him. At least not for now, he said, but we don't want missiles shot at civilians or American soldiers. Our patience is wearing thin. Thank you for your attention to this matter, as he always says. Like, it's
like a 1950s newsreel, isn't it, at the end? Thank you for your attention.
Yeah, or like an HOA letter. I mean, I don't know. It's like, well, I mean, you're the president, so we are paying attention to what you're saying, especially when there's
Nuclear
foreign conflict. We're getting ourselves.
Yo, I wasn't going to pay any attention to you bumming around, but now you said that, I'm like, I'm all ears. I thought you were taking him out on a date. I was like, that's cute. You know, I didn't even think he was your type.
Oh, kill. Oh. Okay. Got it. So he may be bluffing because he just said we don't want missiles shot at civilians or American soldiers, but he's also trying to evacuate Tehran. You never know with this guy because he wrote The Art of the Deal. Yeah, he is the greatest negotiator. He is, of course, I mean, as much as the left like to say, oh my God, we can't have Donald. This was before his first term, that we can't have Donald Trump at the helm of things because no one can predict what he's going to do. That's exactly what you want.
Right.
That's exactly what you want in these situations because the other side, the Kim Jong-un, the Vladimir Putin, the Iranian leaders don't exactly know if he's crazy enough to do it. That's exactly what I want from a leader. And so he left the G7 summit. He asked his national security advisors to be present in the Situation Room when he returned to the White House. And there were reporters that were on Air Force One, of course, a lot of questions that they had. One of them was, what is his goal with Iran? And Trump replied, an end, a real end, not a ceasefire, a real end, Iran giving up entirely. And then he just a couple hours ago posted unconditional surrender. Now, this is a guy, remember, who I know we've talked about this before, but as we get further and further into whatever the hell this conflict is going to shake out to be, this is a guy who has been very clear. He has been very clear on like 2 to 3 things for his entire adult life. One of them is trade and how imbalanced it is. One of them is tariffs, and one of them is, if you want to put those two together, you could. Yeah. I'm listing them separate. One of them is he does not like war.
Yeah, he doesn't want to be involved.
Does not want to be involved in war. So you have to believe that he is treading very, very carefully, coming from a guy who, you know, he's not a Lindsey Graham. He's not a John McCain. He's not one of these people who just wants to be involved in war because they're just like, Lindsey Graham's licking his lips like he's viewing a Grindr profile, thinking about, you know, sending someone else's sons and grandsons to war. That's not President Trump. That's never been who he is. And you cannot convince me that anyone, even in his ear, could convince him otherwise, because this is an actual moral, a value that he has had throughout his entire adult life. So when you're looking at all of this, like, what is the real end? What is the unconditional surrender? I mean, it sounds like cutting the head off of a snake.
Yeah, I mean, it's
This is Soleimani Part 2, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah,
It sounds a whole lot like it.
I think it's bigger than that. I
Okay.
think it's bigger than that. I don't see, because you have to understand what Shia Islam is for you to say this. Now, let's go back a little bit, because this is all of the Democrats making, right? The regime change back in the day. It was under the great peanut farmer. Then you can fast forward to Biden giving them all this money. Mm-hmm. So all this could be avoided. And by
Obama
the way,
as well.
And Obama, sorry, I knew there was one other I was trying to remember. It was when the Green Movement, when the Green Movement was happening, there were people there holding up signs in English, right? So clearly that was an appeal to the United States. And he did say afterwards, Obama admitted, kind of messed up. Now, it's got to be a big mess up for that guy to admit that he was wrong.
Yeah.
So I remember that happening with that poor girl getting, was it Nala, whatever, Nadia, Nala, I don't know. She got killed in the street.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah. I don't remember
2009. She was killed in the street, and it was looking like the Persians had really had enough. Like they were saying that this is it. And they just needed that little, hey guys, we've got you, for it to go. I think it's the same right now. That when I climbed Mount Ararat, I met a bunch of Iranians that were from Iran, not the ones that I used to know in London that left after the fall of the Shah. But they're just like us, they're wearing Nikes, they're, dressed like they are not down with this regime. And by the way, I also used to do Taekwondo with a guy who was Iranian, and he went back to visit his family, and they took him off the streets, put him in jail. Oh yeah, they're just like, I mean, it is absolutely.
Wait, why? Because he left?
Because he came in from the United States, and his brother had to go back over and get him. It's really bad.
Really?
Yeah, it's really bad over there. So you have to understand that the Shia sect of Islam, especially the Twelfthers, which is this regime is, especially Ahmadinejad. I know he's moved on now, but he's a 12ther. And what they want is they want to hasten the coming of the 12th Imam, the Mahdi, because in the end of in the 900s, the Imam disappeared. And so they believe that basically the end of the world will bring back the last Imam. Right. So it's very difficult to fight somebody who's like, I don't care, I want the end of the world to come. Right. So what I hope is happening is the Iranian people, like, hang on a second, like, we are totally not down with this. Like, we're not because like every other country, actually, they've become more and more secular over the years. And you've got this religious leadership that kind of have this grip over them. So what you basically need is the people in Iran to rise up and actually take out their leadership, which is really difficult because the guard is protecting the Ayatollah and all the higher ups. So I don't know how this resolves itself, considering there's such a fanaticism there, and it's not going to end for them until they kill every Jew and destroy Israel. I mean, that's just the way it is.
America too.
Well, we're like, I know we're the great Satan, but for the Mahdi to come back, they have to destroy Israel. So that's why you have Hezbollah that was set up, and they've been just doing this constantly for years and years and years. So I don't know how that resolves itself in that way. I think that we're going to bomb them. And I think that there's probably, considering Trump is like what we're saying, listen, and we've both been vocal about this, we don't want to be at war over there, but all the indicators point to something very, very serious going on that warrants action. And I do want to say this to all of our viewers is, listen, there are people that are saying we shouldn't have anything to do with it, and there are people that are saying we need to get in there and take care of business. As we've seen before, a lot of the people that are saying we need to go in there and take care of business are not Lindsey Graham people, right? They make a reasoned argument like you just did and said, hey, listen, Trump does not want to get involved in these things. So there comes a point where you have to at least have some semblance of trust in your leaders. And I know that we're very skeptical of government, but it's okay to have this debate. Right? What I'm saying is, what we've done recently is throw the baby out with the bathwater and say, you're saying this, so, you're a loser. I'm never following you. It's like Tucker Carlson was like, I don't want anything to do with this. And everyone's like, I hate you, Tucker. But Elon says something. Oh, Elon, I hate. Just slow down a minute. Just slow down. We've got to be more measured, because who knows what might come up in the future. And the intelligence come out that says, for example, they're planning a big strike here, which, by the way, I'll almost guarantee you that if we do bomb Iran, there's going to be terrorist attacks in the United States.
1,000%.
Without a shadow of doubt.
Thank you, Joe Biden, by the way.
It's all on him.
Yeah. Thank you, Joe Biden. So to that point, as we're talking, remember earlier when I said, as of the time of this taping, here's what I can tell you. Well, I'm reading on Daily Mail right now. As of the time of this taping, Trump enters the Situation Room as 4 B-52 nuclear bombers prepare for launch after President's Ayatollah death threat. So there are 4 B-52 bombers stationed at, go ahead, Stephen, stationed at the Diego Garcia base in the Indian Ocean within striking distance of Iran. It says the B-52s, which can carry nuclear weapons or other precision-guided bombs, were spotted on a runway. So they're saying, well, these could take out nuclear. They're
not going to nuke them, though.
Nuclear facilities.
Yeah, no, it will, but they won't be dropping, because what they do is they say, oh, this is it can carry a nuclear weapon. Yes, it can, but again,
no.
I'm just
it can carry but it's saying it can carry weapons to wipe out their nuclear facility, Iran's nuclear
bunker
facilities.
busters,
yes.
bunker buster bombs that can go down 200 feet.
Right.
But then we've also got stealth bombers that can drop those as well. So,
so is this just a show of force?
Is
it something already set into motion?
I think it's a show of force.
It's just a show of force.
Yeah.
I really don't. I'm not saying that there wouldn't, there's always a point, right? There's always a point in which it becomes necessary to get involved. I understand that. I'm not saying we can just live as an isolationist forever and ever, regardless of what anyone does to our allies, regardless of what anyone threatens us. I get it. It's just, you get to a place where the last 4 years, it felt so much like they were trying to pull us into a conflict. And then it felt like we were on the other side of it. And then it was like, oh, great, we're doing this again.
Yeah, but I think that they were trying to pull us into a conflict then that would benefit them in some way, shape, or form.
Of course.
So when you're looking at...
Otherwise, why do it?
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at Biden, he gave them so much money.
So did Obama.
And Obama did, yeah. So you're kind of like, hang on a second. These people hate us. They do hate us. They've chanted death to America. Yeah. They say that we're the great Satan. So if there was anywhere that, and again, I just want to make this clear. I do not want to go to war. I don't think we should be interfering. If this was between Iran and Israel, knock yourself out. It's none of our business.
Right.
At what point do we look and say, hang on a second, this is going to affect us? And again, we've become so jaded with our leadership, even with Trump, in the people that he's had, although, like I say, he's got a track record of actually not getting involved. I think we have to look and say, well, hang on a second, is this a real clear and present danger to the United States? And it just so happens that it's happening right now, because I know I saw somewhere that they were saying that they're 3 weeks away from getting enriched uranium. That's a problem.
Yeah.
I mean, it just is.
Right.
And I mean, look.
And again, these are people who I want to be clear here. I mean, they came here intentionally, illegally, while the gates were open, because they intended to harm us regardless.
It's going to happen.
they will try to wait for something to coincide so that they can say, oh, but we only did it as retaliation. But let's be clear, like, we don't have Americans, American citizens like conspiring to go cross the border into Iran to go wait as a terror cell for something to happen so that they can detonate something and be like, this was just retaliate. I mean, it's just them, right? That's what they were going to do. That's what they always were going to do. There's a reason why they chant death to America in the streets. So let's just make that entirely clear that they will do it after something happens if they can, and then they will try to blame us. But there's a reason they were here in the first place.
Yeah, and again, I want to make this clear because people say all the time, oh, Trump this. He's issued a warning for people to leave.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, there wasn't a warning on October 7th.
Right.
There won't be a warning here in the United States at all, and they will hit civilians.
Right.
So, I mean, what a time to be alive, man. I just, we do want peace. We want peace. Throughout my whole life, Iran has been a problem.
Yeah.
I've never known it not be a problem. And I think that if we hadn't got involved in the wars in Afghanistan and in Iraq, we'd be a little bit more like, okay, well, we knew it was coming at some point, but we could do without it when we're on our knees, right? Yeah. Like, we're really on our knees as a country.
Yeah, I do. To your point, I know we got to go to break, Stephen. To your point, it was a congresswoman. What's her name? Yasemin Ansari. And I guess her parents fled Iran. And so she said, this is personal. She tweeted this out. Stephen, if I could remember my password to anything, I would sign in and just put it on my computer for you to take. But I don't.
No way.
Come on, it's password.
Password 123. Uh-oh, you cracked the code. He's giving me shit because I just literally cannot remember a password to save my life.
Oh, yeah. Listen,
I don't write them down.
My wife's the same. Do you know when we try and get into Netflix, like, if I'm the one that doesn't have the password, it's impossible.
Yeah. So I'll work on that, Stephen. But she said she copied his post where he said at the end of it, everyone should immediately evacuate Tehran. And she's like, Trump's threat of murdering innocent civilians or another endless war, a mass casualty event is not the answer. It's like, babe, he just told everyone to evacuate because he doesn't want innocent civilians killed. What about this do you not understand?
Well, is she a Democrat? Because of course they all are.
Of course she's a Democrat.
Right? They all are. So what it is that they have this filter that comes in. The truth comes in, it goes, and she is Trump, he's evil.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it is really, really disgusting to watch, especially from someone who should understand the region and know better. All right, we've got to take a quick break. We will have more on the way. First, we want to thank our sponsor, Birch Gold. So in wartime, you could, before we get there, God forbid, you could check out diversifying any of your savings, your IRAs, your 401ks, diversifying into gold and silver, because historically gold has been a safe haven in times of uncertainty. There are little things to be uncertain about. President Trump has made things demonstrably better here domestically, but there's a lot going on out there. Point is, it doesn't hurt to go get a free information kit on tax-sheltered gold IRAs by texting the word Sarah to 989898. Here's the thing. If you have an IRA or a 401k laying around collecting dust, maybe it's losing money, maybe it's just kind of staying stagnant. You're wasting your time with that. Just diversify just a little bit. I recommend. Listen, I'm not a financial expert, but they are. So go get that information kit. There's no obligation. You read it from them. Don't take it from me. Read it from them. Text my name, Sarah, to 989898 and claim your free information kit from Birch Gold. We talked about, Matt, you were here, the No Kings protests over the weekend that were taking place across the country. We had that map last week. It was just like dots all over the freaking place. Well, there was one in Salt Lake City, Utah. And during one of these protests in Salt Lake City, Utah, on Saturday, an innocent bystander was shot and killed. But this is really crazy. The man arrested for murder did not take the shot. And even CNN acknowledged it with a headline saying a fashion designer and father of two was killed at a No Kings protest in Utah. One man is accused of murder, but he wasn't the shooter. And I want to play the footage from the shooting that we have. Okay. So the story I'll lay out for you is my opinion. I'd love to hear yours. I'd love to hear yours in the comments. Precisely why President Trump should have full control of the National Guard, because it demonstrates I would say, a serious problem with accountability by the protest organizers, the 50501 movement, who didn't want police presence. And instead, they're like, oh, we don't want police. We just want to install our own safety teams. You've also got the Salt Lake City detectives and the DA who are suspiciously refusing to bring charges on the actual killer or even disclose his name. I'd say that's a problem. And then, of course, the unnamed peacekeepers, the safety teams who shot into a crowd and killed a man. And then, of course, there's no blame to be shared. Like I said, vigilante civilians bringing rifles to peaceful demonstrations. They call them peaceful demonstrations because they're like scared of Kyle Rittenhouse, even though, you know what? I won't. It'll hurt their brains if I actually go into facts about this. So you look at this and you're like, oh, well, if that's what they're doing in these crazy places like Salt Lake City, President Trump should absolutely have full authority to quash all of these, you call them demonstrations, we'll use air quotes, demonstrations, peaceful protests, because this story actually proves that they are not demonstrations or protests. These are disorganized chaos. You have a group who wants to protest, who wants to get involved in these demonstrations, even though we've watched these demonstrations turn violent, and they're like, oh, we don't want the cops here. Don't worry. We have our own security team. We have our own security team. So if you have friends or family who still think someone like, I don't know, Gavin Newsom should have command of the California National Guard, share this show with them and tell them to stop being retarded. All right. So what happened here? Armed peacekeepers spotted a radical Antifa supporter named Arturo Gamboa. He was wandering the protest grounds carrying an AR-15. Now, these peacekeepers, which is very ironic considering what happened, these peacekeepers mistook him for a MAGA threat. They thought he's carrying an AR-15. He must be MAGA. He was a MAGA threat. And they just opened fire on this guy, which is kind of ironic because he was likely armed because he too feared a threat approaching him. And then it turned out that the threat was the peacekeepers. Are you paying attention? Do you get it? We need a flow chart for this one. All right. So what's the proof? Here's what Gamboa's buddy posted on Facebook in 2020 about Gamboa carrying a rifle at BLM protests. He said, Arturo Gamboa, okay, if you're unsure of what that looks like, ask my man, Arturo Gamboa. Kid has his rifle on or near him almost every protest last summer and didn't shoot not one person, but I bet he deterred a lot of Rittenhouses. That's what it was about. That's why he presumably was carrying his AR-15. So these peacekeepers, again, got to use air quotes, we know how that turned out, shot him, but also hit and fatally wounded a man by the name of Arthur Falusa Alu as well. It's a little confusing, right?
Yeah.
You can't keep up with it. Okay, that's because leftist community organizers are totally retarded. I saved a little bit of an edit there. You're welcome, edit team. Love ya. I do try. So this 50501 movement was the one that organized it. All right. And they said, like I said, they did not want a police presence. So they had these peacekeepers. The city protest permit did not allow for this. And Salt Lake City police said that the peacekeepers were not overseen. They were not sanctioned. They were not trained by the department. Duh. That's probably why immediately after the shooting, 50501 staff went around telling witnesses that they had no affiliation with the shooter. Watch.
Dude, they're on major damage control right now. Like 10 people saw a protest organizer in a yellow vest shoot someone, and the organizers are on damage control, running around saying that they're not affiliated with it. The witnesses say it was one of the organizers.
We don't know anything.
It says on the news that 2 people were shot. One is the shooter. One was a protester.
People saw the shooter leave.
It's on the internet.
2 bodies? Yeah.
They did.
Okay, 2 down.
So, first of all, if I'm the victim's family, I'm suing the shit out of this organization for criminal negligence because today they actually admitted the shooter was one of their people. They said they selected him because he had military experience, apparently not enough to understand that you don't fire into a crowd. So I'd wonder what type of a military veteran this person was. And despite this guy not killing Gamboa, not killing Lu, police booked him on murder charges, issuing the statement. Detectives have developed probable cause that Gamboa acted under circumstances that showed a depraved indifference to human life, knowingly engaged in conduct that created a grave risk of death and ultimately caused the death of an innocent community member. So I would agree that like his conduct created a very serious risk. But what about the guy that shot into a crowd and killed? Like there is an actual killer here. There, out in all of this confusing story, there is an actual killer. And so CNN asked Salt Lake City police if there would be charges brought on the actual killer. They said detectives are still actively investigating the case to include the actions of the peacekeepers. Detectives had not been able to determine at this time why Gamboa pulled out his rifle and began to manipulate it, or why he ran from the peacekeepers when they confronted him. So they just deflected back to this guy that we already know didn't do it, and they're not releasing the peacekeeper's name, even though police have him in custody. Like how is this happening? Oh, I don't know, because of leftist leadership. So you know what? You hear something like this and you hear how retarded it is, and you're like, yeah, President Trump should absolutely have control over these places. Bring in the National Guard, bring in the Marines, bring in any other unit that you see fit to make sure to keep these places stable, because local leaders aren't going to do it.
Well, there's another couple of questions I have about this. The first thing is, they thought he was MAGA.
Because why? Who knows? Because why?
This is how retarded they are, though. He was carrying a gun. They were carrying guns. I mean, the stupidity.
It's the Spider-Man meme.
It's like, oh, you MAGA. No, you MAGA.
We're all carrying guns.
But have you noticed how the cities have been burnt down after people understood that they thought that they were killing a MAGA? That's right, because we don't do that. Because we don't burn down cities when people do ridiculous acts of violence, even if they think that it's us on the other side. But this is a problem, right? Now, he also says there he tried to manipulate his weapon, which kind of indicates that they probably drawn on him. They probably got the weapons out already on him. Right? Because he'd be like, oh, I've got to try, which means he wasn't prepared to
play it again, Stephen. So that's Gamboa, and then that's the peacekeeper.
Yeah, he's got his weapon.
Looks like it.
Look.
It looks like it.
Yeah, he's not even going toward him.
Right. None of it makes sense.
And here's
None
the
of
other
it makes
thing.
sense.
Here's the other thing. If ever you've done anything, if ever you've organized, and not that I've organized a rally, but even if you want to organize, let's say if I want to organize a film shoot and you're on the street, you have to have a cop there. You have to have a cop there. In LA, you have to have a cop.
Well, but what if you really politely request not to have? You say, listen,
point, right?
we've got peacekeepers. It's fine.
Oh, all right then.
It's
Yeah.
fine. He's a military veteran.
Oh, there
Doesn't
you
know
go.
not to shoot into a crowd. But we've got peacekeepers,
That's
so it's
very
fine.
dodgy. I've never known the police department stand down even on the slightest thing.
Well, it's not only that, but it's like when you're asked about it, they just deflected back to Gamboa. It's like, hold on. There's a guy out here who just shot both people. He shot two people. One of them is dead, and you're just deflecting back to this other guy who didn't do it? That's crazy.
Yeah,
what are you hiding?
So they say detectives, wasn't it? In that piece, it was detectives. I'm like, well, good luck with that. But it's all, look, they want chaos. We've said this before. They want chaos. But I will say this. I've got to give them props. They're no kings.
There are no kings?
There are no kings.
So they did it.
I'm just saying.
They did it.
Yay!
There are still no
bunch
kings.
of retarded morons. Honestly. Nobody even called for a king. If Trump wanted to be a king, we'd stop him from being a king on his own side.
I mean, the whole thing it's just so dumb. It's what I thought that they would have understood that the fascism thing was played out, that they couldn't keep oh, the tyranny, oh, the fascism after we just lived 4 years under Joe Biden. I really thought that they would understand that was played out and it's not going to work. And they just keep going.
And shooting each other.
Kyle Rittenhouse was not there.
Well, here's the other point. They're saying defending themselves from the Kyle Rittenhouses. Kyle Rittenhouse was attacked.
Defending
He was defending himself.
And that's why it's also stupid. It's like Kyle Rittenhouse, thank God he had the weapon that he did have, or else he would be dead.
He was
all in self-defense.
Yeah, he was defending himself. These people are so retarded. It ain't even, it's just like mind-boggling how stupid they are.
Yes, but it's also I know we got to go to break here. It's also very scary to me because, especially in light of that super crazy post that I made with the words on a hat, guys. Words on a hat. Death threats because of words on a hat. Okay? All sorts of crazy accusations lodged my way because of words on a hat. And of course, I'm referring to support your local ICE raids hat, which you can find at saramerch.com.
That was pretty good.
ABC always be closing.
Yeah.
And so this particular hat, you would be shocked at the amount of just total lies that people are spewing on my social media with regard to ICE raids.
Well, here's the thing.
It's crazy, but my thing is like, do they really believe? I think they really believe it.
No,
like they really believe that American citizens are getting deported, and you better have your papers because they're coming after everyone with brown skin. I'm just like, oh my God, what world are you living in that you think that's true?
They want it to be true. I saw something the other day. It was probably the worst picture I've ever seen. Is someone holding up and you never know now whether it's AI, whether they've changed it, but it was like, this is like the Holocaust. I'm like,
oh my God, that's offensive.
Listen, calling someone a Nazi is offensive. Saying it's the Holocaust is offensive.
Calling someone a Nazi is offensive, but it's like comparing deporting illegal criminals out of your country who shouldn't be here to the Holocaust.
Like murdering a bunch of Jews. It's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable. So offensive.
But you got to understand their mindset and where they are. And again, we've said this 1,000 times on this show.
Yeah.
If you call someone a Nazi, if you say this is the Holocaust, guess what? You justify violence against them.
Yeah.
That's the whole game.
That's the point. Yeah, no, you're right. All right, we've got to take a quick break. We will be back with more. First, we want to thank our sponsor, Preborn. So a recent bombshell report revealed that the abortion pill is literally 10 times more dangerous than the FDA claims. Who would have thought the FDA sleeping on the job? Who would have thunk it? 11% of women experience serious adverse effects from the abortion pill, even though they will tell you that it's totally safe. And so when you calculate out how many abortions there are that use the abortion pill, how many abortions take place in the United States annually, that calculates out to 66,000 women who will be harmed by the abortion pill this year. They call that healthcare. Let me tell you what real healthcare is. Preborn's network of clinics have saved over 67,000 babies last year because they are doing God's work here. They are showing these women ultrasound. All right. They're being lied to by the left. They're being told it's just a clump of cells. Don't worry, you won't regret it. Over at the Preborn network of clinics, they've got the ultrasound. They see their baby. They hear the baby's heartbeat. And in that moment, her baby's chance at life doubles. One ultrasound is $28. $140 helps to rescue 5 babies. These are all tax deductible. So if you have the means, would you consider donating to save the life of a baby? You can go to preborn.com/Sarah. Donate securely over at preborn.com/Sarah. Well, on that note, Matt, calling, Republicans, conservatives, all sorts of things that they clearly are not. Representative Ilhan Omar couldn't help but compare President Trump to the dictators that she claimed she lived with while in Somalia. Here's her on that.
I grew up in a dictatorship. And I don't even remember ever witnessing anything like that. To have a democracy, a beacon of hope for the world to now be turned into one of the worst countries where the military are in our streets without any regard for people's constitutional rights.
Constitutional rights to what? Burn cities down?
collars, propping himself up like a failed dictator with a military parade.
Failed dictator?
It is really shocking,
like
and it should be a
Christopher
wake-up
Walken.
call for all Americans
Parade,
to say this is not
Ilhan,
the
Omar.
country we were born in. This is not the country we believe in. This is not the
You
country
weren't born
our founding
here.
fathers imagined, and this is not the country that is supported by our Constitution, our ideals, our values. And we should all collectively.
I will not
be
be
out in the
lectured
streets
to
rejecting,
by someone who
what
was
is
not
taking
even.
place
You
this
were
week.
not even born here. You were not even born here. You don't get to lecture me on what President Trump does and whether or not it's a dictatorship. And it's just so laughable when you look at compare what President Trump has done so far compared to Somalia. Okay, he revoked DEI, foreign aid, like over 100 Biden era policies. He, started mass deportations, declared a national emergency at the border, used Doge to cut a shit ton of money and positions, pulled from the WHO Paris Climate Accords, pardoned some of these J6ers, pro-life advocates. Doesn't sound very dictatorish to me. Meanwhile, over in shithole Somalia, you had over in 2006, the Islamic Courts Union took control of Somalia, most of it, and strictly enforced Sharia law. You had an extremist group in 2011 challenge the Somalian government for control, and this was Al-Shabaab, and through Sharia law enacted executions, forced amputations. If you stole or if you violated the dress code, you got your appendages chopped off. Heavily restricted media and education. And in 2020, Amnesty International reported that several press members in Somalia were living in perpetual fear. Oh, wow. Sounds just like President Trump's second term, you dumb President Mohammed Abdullah Mohammed in 2021, say that 3 times fast, signed a law to extend his term in office and wouldn't leave. But yeah, no, totally. Yes, this is just like Somalia. Totally like Somalia, where President Trump is trying to protect American citizens and roll back regulations rather than cut people's hands off when they steal.
Sarah, I was in a movie called Black Hawk Down, which was set in Somalia because that happened in Somalia. Yeah. They murder people in the streets. That's what they do. It's a war-torn country. It has been for, I don't know how long, at least 3 decades. This is absurd. I said this the other day, and I maintain it. By the way, I never take any offense at when you talk about not being born here, because
I know you don't.
I know that I wasn't born here, and I understand, by the way, that I don't think that anyone that is foreign born and becomes a citizen of this country should hold office. I do not think. In fact, I'm all down for leaving it 3 generations actually until they could hold office. It's unbelievable that people get to come from shithole countries. They are shithole countries. Somalia is a shithole country. Haiti is a shithole country. It is. Chastising and lambasting Trump for telling the absolute and utter truth, right? You don't get to come to America and say how bad it is and start lecturing other Americans on it. I mean, I'm very, very, even myself coming from the UK, I'm very cognizant and respectful of other Americans because I know that I came here as a guest and I'm very grateful for it. But this woman, look, she needs to be investigated anyway. Why people haven't investigated her to see whether she lied when she became a citizen, I don't know.
She married her brother?
You think it's a bit of a problem, right?
According to my standards, yeah.
And what is it with these women, by the way, who would be bitch slapped in the countries they came from, told to shut the bleep up? See, see, she swears. I don't swear anymore. I'm such a better person.
Shithole.
I didn't say though.
You just did.
But
yeah,
they come here and then instead of being grateful that they have these freedoms, they're like, you know what? I'm going to turn it into the shithole I just came from.
Right.
It's unbelievable. She's pandering because basically where she comes from in it's Michigan, right? Yeah. Where she comes, Dearborn. Is it Dearborn?
That's no, it's Minnesota. It's Minnesota.
It's Minnesota, yeah. But it's mini Somalia out there. In both of those areas, actually, it's a major problem.
It is.
So what you've got is she's playing to a demographic because what they've done, which is what we always warn against, is they allow people to come in en masse and create their own little ghettos. And that's what's happening when what they should be doing is integrating into American society.
I mean, or just go back to your shithole country. That's fine. I won't hurt my feelings. All right, we've got to take another quick break. We'll be back with more, but we want to thank our sponsor this segment, Brickhouse Nutrition. They've got this awesome product supplement called Lean, and you don't have to actually. People are injecting themselves with the fat shot drug, as President Trump calls it. Don't take the fat shot drug. Don't inject yourself. It's eating your heart muscle. It's making you have a flabby butt. A flat butt. Don't do that. All right. Try Lean. Doctors created a healthier way to lose weight by capturing the power of natural ingredients like caralluma. You might not realize what caralluma is. I don't actually either.
Isn't she a representative from Florida?
No, that's Anna Paulina Luna.
Oh.
But all I know is that I am
doesn't
very
have a flat
picky.
butt.
She does.
I'm just saying. It's
If
just
you want to look like
observation.
Anna Paulina Luna, go to takelean.com and you can use code Sarah20 to get 20% off. In all seriousness, you can turn the bottle and you can actually read what the ingredients are. It's all natural, and it's not going to be like some crazy injection that you don't know what type of weird side effects are taking place in your body. No, this is all natural, and it can help you lose that stubborn weight so that you can be ready for the summer. Go wear a bikini or something. Takelean.com. Use code Sarah20 for 20% off over at takelean.com. Our last remaining minutes on this show, and I'm getting a little bit anxious. A little bit anxious that everything we just talked about is all going to change by the time people are watching this, and I just want to take a minute to President Trump. I love you. You love me. If you could just do me a solid, and if you have any announcement to make, you want to come to us from the Situation Room, that's totally fine. That's totally fine. That's very valid, okay? But if you could just do it after 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern tonight, that would, I mean, I'm talking to President Trump and I'm talking to President Trump. That would be super helpful for us here at Sara Gonzales Unfiltered, so that everything that we just talked about isn't rendered completely meaningless. If you could just do that. I mean, listen, I know. All right. I know you got a lot of people in your head. You got a lot of people coming at you, asking you for things. I never ask you for anything. Okay.
Sarah, I'll do it.
I will be the greatest president that God ever created.
He's never said anything else but that one.
I'm really rich. I will build a great, great wall on our southern border, and I will
This
have
one didn't.
Mexico.
It didn't age well. That
we'll
didn't
let
age
you go.
well. That's okay.
I don't wear a toupee. It's my hair. I swear.
There's a
I'm
bunch of
China.
them.
I just sold an apartment for $15 million to somebody from China. Our leaders are stupid. Our politicians are stupid.
See? We got a friend.
Yeah, I never heard all that.
So much winning if I
keeps
get
going.
elected
Yeah.
that you may get bored with winning.
Well, I'm just going to leave it at that.
Yeah, I'm not going to get bored with winning.
I would never get bored of winning, but, we're talking about war, so
No.
I'm just like, hey. Listen, again, Trump, come on, please. We'll find out. We'll see you tomorrow.